Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, dear devotees, please join us today in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 7, Further Inquiries by Vidura. And here we will learn how to make spiritual inquiries to get relief from miseries and misfortunes, to attain attraction for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna. So please join us for Jai Radha Madhav prayers. After Jai Radha Madhav prayers, we'll be doing Mangalacharan prayers, recitation of a verse from this chapter, followed by Guru Pranati, and then we'll dive into the 4 lessons that we'll be learning today. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girdhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha आप सबका स्वागत है, आप सबका अभिनंदन है। हरे कृष्णा। Today's Srimad Bhagavatam class में
Hari Bol, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Jiva Tattva Prabhu ji will be giving class today on Canto 3, Chapter 7. Further questions by Vidura. And आज के जो lessons हैं, Prabhu ji is going to share with us how we should make spiritual inquiries with the pure souls, with a genuine guru, because a guru connects us with Krishna. और आज का जो सब्जेक्ट है फ्रॉम कैंटो 3 चैप्टर 7 में से, अगर आपके कुछ स्पिरिचुअल इंक्वायरीज हैं आफ्टर द क्लास, यू कैन आस्क देम. प्रभु जी विल हैव फ्यू मिनट्स टू आंसर योर क्वेश्चंस एट द एंड ऑफ द क्लास. आप अपने ग्रीटिंग्स शेयर कर सकते हैं, लेकिन कृपया अपने क्वेश्चंस एंड ऑफ द क्लास में पूछें, सो दैट वी डोंट मिस योर क्वेश्चंस. Sudipta Sarkarji, Hare Krishna. Welcome to all the viewers, including the new viewers on Srimad Bhagavatam class. Ativor ji, Hare Krishna. Shishupal Vaishnav ji, Aanchal Arora ji, Mihir ji, Joydeep Ghosh, Abhidas, Vishal Kumar, Thambo Tombe Devi, Hare Krishna. करुणा सिंधु प्रभु, हरि बोल, शंभु मंडल जी, सीता वेणुगोपाल जी, और सारे डिवोटीज. ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज. जीवा तत्व प्रभु जी, प्लीज गो अहेड विद द क्लास.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye. Shratam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha. हृदयन्तस्तो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहसताम्. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया. भगवतेरुत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us in the recitation of the verse. So today we'll also be covering a very important verse. Hare Krishna. तो आज हम लोग एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट वर्स इस चैप्टर से कवर करेंगे, जो कि विदुर जी का रिस्पॉन्स है. ही उन्होंने बहुत सारे प्रश्न पूछे, ही आस्क्ड मेनी क्वेश्चंस, एंड देन ही हियर्स द रिस्पॉन्स, एंड द रिस्पॉन्स इज सो अवेकनिंग दैट ही रिस्पॉन्ड्स बैक दैट, oh, now I understand the essence. And what is that essence? This is given in the verse 14th, where he is expressing based on his inquiries, Vidurji inquiries. So we will do the recitation of the verse followed by Guru Pranati, and then we'll dive into the lessons. Hare Krishna. Ashesha Sanklesha Samam Vidyate Gunaruvad Shravanam Murarehe Kim Vapanastachanarvinda Paraga Seva Ratiratma Labdha. Translation by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So this is verse 14. Simply by chanting and hearing of the transcendental name, form, etc. of the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, one can achieve the cessation of unlimited miserable conditions. Therefore, what to speak of those who have attained attraction for serving the flavor of the lotus of the Lord's lotus feet? Hare Krishna. Please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Deen Taranam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So as we can understand, the verse itself is very poetic, where Vidurji is responding after hearing the response, the answer to his inquiries. He is understanding and he is revealing. So it is also very important for the disciple or the student to reflect on what they have learned, right? And in current times, because students don't normally reflect, teachers have to ask questions, right? What did you learn in the class today? We covered so many chapters, so many questions, and so many inquiries were addressed. Now, what did you learn? So again, here Vidurji, he is showing us by an example. And Mahajano Yena Gatha Pantha. So he is one of the Mahajanas. Why do we say he is one of the Mahajanas? Because he is none other than Yamraj, who was cursed by Mandavya Rishi, also sometimes referred to as Manduka Rishi, to take birth as a Shudra. So he appeared as a son of a maid servant, but also son of Pandhu and seminal son of Shri Krishna Dvaipanya Vyasdev. So again, such an exalted personality. And when he is speaking, we should be paying attention. And what is he saying? He's saying that simply by chanting and hearing of the transcendental name, form, activities, pastimes, etc. of the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, what can we do? Once again, by what is the result of such chanting? That one can achieve the cessation. So something can be stopped. And what is that stops? Unlimited miserable conditions. So if we want to get rid of all the miseries of this life, all the anxieties, all the fears, all the unpredictable circumstances, and all the circumstances that make us very nervous at times, how can we become free of all these miserable conditions? So just by simply hearing and chanting can result with this, then can you imagine what will be the result to one who is faithfully, with love, with devotion, with gratitude, serving Lord Shri Krishna, engage in the devotional service of Lord Shri Krishna? You can easily imagine that such a person is definitely going to get much higher benediction and, surely will attain the love of Godhead and go back home, back to Godhead. So this is beautiful blessing right here in this verse that we are covering. And this is spoken by none other than Vidurji, Mahatma Vidur, who actually has taken birth, who is Yamraj, who has taken birth as a son of a maid servant. So even though he is born as a son of a maid servant, his seminal father is Shri Krishna Dvaipanya Vyasdev. So Shukdev Goswami is discussing how Vidurji, right, how Yamraj himself is taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. And that particular aspect is covered, later on in this chapter. So there are 4 lessons we'll be covering today. So you would definitely be curious, what are these inquiries that is causing Vidurji to respond with such a wonderful way? And what is the response? That simply by hearing and chanting the name, form, activities, pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna with love, with surrender, with a mood of devotion. In this way, when we call out to the Lordship, then we stop all the miseries. We can simply, this is the benediction. So all we have to do is raise our hands and call out, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada, that's why he would say, chant and be happy. So simply by chanting, we can be happy because all the miseries will go away. We will become peaceful and we will become prasannatma, Brahma Bhuta prasannatma. So again, when we serve Lord Shri Krishna, we rise above. So again, getting rid of miseries is still plain zero, but rising above is by engaging in devotional service that we can attain such wonderful, benedictions, such wonderful blessings from the Lord and His devotees. So Hare Krishna, so there are 4 important lessons. The first lesson is based on the inquiries that Mahatma Vidur he is posing. So Mahatma Vidur ऐसी कैसे कौन से inquiries कर रहे हैं जो कि when Maitreya Muni is responding, and of course we also understand Maitreya Muni is not a simple personality. He is son of Mitra. Mitra is one of the Adityas, right? So again, of the 12 Adityas, he is one of them. So Maitreya Muni is, one of the son of the one of the Adityas, and also he is also a student of Parashar Muni, right? And he is a friend of Vyasdev, well-wisher of Vyasdev. So again, very nice combination. So when you look at it this way, it's a very nice combination that, Vidurji is there, he is Mahatma Vidur, again very exalted personality, one of the Mahajanas, and right in front of him, he is taking shelter of a person who is, like his uncle, an elderly person. Previously, he was expressing that to Uddhav, and Uddhav realized he is like a nephew. He is a nephew actually of Vidurji. So if somebody younger gives you instruction, you may not take it to the heart. But if someone who is elderly, more respectable, highly learned, you will definitely take such person's instruction, especially someone who is in a position of like our uncle, right? Friend of our father. So that is very favorable situation. So everything is very nicely in a favorable situation. So Vidurji is in a very submissive mood, in a very surrendered mood. He's making these inquiries. And what are these inquiries? He is basically expressing that, Lord Krishna, he performs such wonderful pastimes. He is so munificent, he is so magnanimous that even though we turned our back towards him, he is accompanying us. He is always present in our heart as super soul, as an affectionate father. And he loves us so much that he cannot see us suffering in this material world. So he makes that arrangement that we living entities have a path to go back home. So the reason the material world is created, of course, the first reason is that we wanted to enjoy apart from Lord Shri Krishna. But second is more important reason, so that we understand the miseries of this life and we take our path back to Godhead. So again, to be able to overcome all the miseries, overcome all the anxieties, overcome all the fears. Why is bad thing happening to good people? Why is there so much stress? Why is there so much anxieties around pandemic and all the kind of, events that are happening in the world today? And they're constantly happening. They never stop. So this is the nature of the world. It is Dukkhalaya. It is a place of misery. And we want to be at Sukhalaya. So Sukhalaya is not here. But we can, simply by taking to the chanting and taking to devotional service, which is the response that we heard in the verse today that we read, we can simply attain that. So here, the first question that he is asking is that Lord is performing all these wonderful things, right? All Lord Krishna, he is appearing as Purushavta. So he is referring back to the previous lessons. Lesson in chapter 5 and chapter 6, where Maitreya Muni explained as how Lord Krishna means again plenary portion and part of the plenary portion of his appearing as Purushavtas, Mahavishnu and so forth, and then how we living entities, cannot see him, but he is so merciful that in the Virat Rup, in the universal form, he gives us an opportunity so we can see him. And further in this Kali age, how can we see him? The three ways we can see him. Even a neophyte, even a person who is not a devotee can see Lord Krishna with proper instructions in three forms. So what are the three forms that we can perceive Lord Shri Krishna? First is, of course, the name, form, activities, pastimes, right? Which is starting with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Lord is appearing as his name in this Kali age. Kali Kale Nam Rupe Krishna Avatare. So he appears as his holy name. So holy name of Lord Shri Krishna is not different. Now sometimes people ask, what is the reference that holy name is not different from Lord Shri Krishna? Then from the Puranas we get this evidence. Nama Chintamani Krishna Sa Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Abhinnatvam Nama Namino Nama Chintamani Krishnas. So Lord's name is endued with all transcendental potencies, bliss and opulences, right? It is Chintamani, it is the, desire stone, you can say, not Parasmani. Parasmani is touchstone which turns iron into gold. But Chintamani is like who fulfills all your, wishes. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. So it is it has all the potencies of Lord Shri Krishna, all the energies of Lord Shri Krishna are present there, all his wonderful qualities are present there. Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto. It completely purifies us, and Nitya Mukto, it eternally liberates us from the clutches of Maya, this material world, Dukkhalaya. We can, elevate above, we can liberate ourselves. The name can liberate us actually from this place of misery, from this Dukkhalaya. Abhinnatvam Nama Namina. Abhinnatvam means it is non-different. The name is not different from whom? The person who is named. So the name of Lord Shri Krishna is Lord Shri Krishna. It is not different from Lord Shri Krishna. So that is the first form. What is the second form he appears? As his literary incarnation. So again, the second way Lord appears is his literary incarnation in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. And since it is also a Shruti Shastra, it is learned by hearing, so it is also referred to as sound incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna. And what is the third form Lord appears that even a neophyte, and someone who is new to Krishna consciousness can understand? He appears in his Archa Vigraha form, where proper Pran Pratishtha and all the, following the rituals as given, in the scriptures have been performed, and Lord is present. So he appears so that we can see his form, we can appreciate his form, we can serve him, we can worship him, right? That is very, very important. So Lord is so merciful that he is appearing. And Vidurji has this inquiry that when Lord Shri Krishna is appearing in this material world, there is some, inconceivable aspects to it. Inconceivable means achintya, that we cannot perceive, we cannot get our head around. ऐसी क्या बातें हैं जो हम समझ नहीं पाते हैं? So he wants to understand this. He wants to understand how is Lord Shri Krishna. He is appearing in this material world, having all these qualities, yet at the same time he is without qualities, right? Nirguna, that is the word said. Nirguna is like his, again, this is contextual. Sanskrit is a very contextual language. You cannot just take the literary meaning and say, okay, Nirguna means he doesn't have any qualities. So this is where the bewilderment happens in Gyan Yoga. Gyan Yogis, people who are impersonalists, they get bewildered because they try to look after the literary meaning. And further, away from them are the materialists, people who are not, even taken to the study of the Shastras. They get even more bewildered because they are at the mental speculation level. At least the Gyan Yogi are at the philosophical speculation level. They are referring to the Shastras, but they are misinterpreting. Now, why are they misinterpreting? Because they have not properly taken shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. That is an important aspect, one who has seen the truth, because a bona fide spiritual master appears in disciplic succession and he has seen the truth. He is Tattvadarshi. So when we take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master who can reveal the knowledge to us, then we can understand, right? If we just tell the children, okay, these are books, and just give them the books, and then we say, okay, now we don't have to worry about it, because we have given them all the books from kindergarten to first grade all the way to, the MBBS level studies. Now they should become doctors. Now that is not right expectations, because we all understand that this is not how education is provided, right? Children, in the very early stage, all parents, they say, no, what are you talking about? Giving them books will not solve the matter, because they will misinterpret, they will not even understand. We need someone to give instructions, right? So this is where it is very important. And we should also, teachers don't just help us with the studies of the books, but they also help us with etiquettes, with how should we treat each other, how should we behave in the society, how can we be a moral citizen, how can we be a loving, devotee to the Lordship and a loving member of the society. So again, that is also another aspect that sometimes people ignore. Teachers, they provide us, they help us get the discipline. And what is the meaning of disciple? Disciple means one who is ready to be disciplined, right? Just like devotee is one who is devoted with love, with gratitude. So again, that is also, devotion is an essential aspect. So here, Mahatma Vidura is asking this question that Lord Krishna, he appears. And when he is appearing, so again, how should we understand that how he is appearing in this material world? And further he continues to ask many questions. Like, boys, they are incited to do different kind of activities. And today it was one of the very nice example we saw. Today in the Japa class, in the Japa session today, there was a small baby. He appeared, right? And the first thing he did was he came and he was, paying obeisances. He was holding his hands, palms together. And he was wishing all the people who in the Japa session, namaskar, right? He was paying obeisances in a very loving, smiling mood. And everyone started smiling, right? Because that is the right way. When we see someone, in a very happy mood, we automatically smile. Is contagious. Don't you agree? That when we smile, others smile as well. When we are feeling nice and everybody who sees us in a very happy mood, they also become happy, right? And they want to talk. So this is like a welcoming gesture for us to welcome everyone in our life, in a loving mood, in a caring mood. So that is very important. So when the baby came with that particular aspect, everyone became very happy. And so this is how we should be, treating each other. Yet at the same time, everyone needs engagement. We all understand, even in the Japa session, we also realize that the baby, he was new, so he's hearing. And hearing is the most potent form of, and Parikshit Maharaj, he himself is the Acharya who is setting the example that simply by hearing how one can attain perfection in this life, because just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, he attains perfection. And so we are also understanding, and when we are hearing, there should also be inquiries, right? Hearing alone, as Parikshit Maharaj is revealing, he is making inquiries from Shukdev Goswami. Here Maitreya Muni, he is hearing from, Maitreya Muni, Viduji is hearing, and he is making inquiries. At Naimisharanya, Shaunak Rishi and the great sages, they are hearing from Sutta Goswami, and they are also making inquiries. So making an inquiry is a very important aspect that goes hand in hand with hearing. And also reflection, understanding, okay, this is what I understood, is that correct? Reflection on what you have heard is also very important, so that you don't misinterpret the message, right? So once it just so happened, why sometimes people say, oh, Sanskrit is contextual language. But, why is the same word has various meanings, And it is very important for us to understand that actually every language which is enriched, that is the richness of the language, because it is, and Sanskrit is also, when written in Devanagari and various other lipis, is, very poetic in nature. And of course, scientists already have revealed that Sanskrit is the most perfect language scientifically, because you can arrange the words in any order, but the meaning remains the same. So the literal meaning you can derive, but the contextual meaning is what is of importance. And even in Hindi, we see some of these examples. When we say the word jal, so people say, oh, wo jal gaya, right? An example. But then if the teacher meant jal means water, mujhe thoda jal chahiye, so it has completely two different meanings. In one place, it's referring to fire, jal gaya, right? That is, fire burnt him. But mujhe jal chahiye, I'm thirsty, so give me water, which is like the water, just opposite of fire. So again, they have different qualities. One is burning, one is soothing, yet at the same time being referred by the same word jal. So again, this is where it is very important. Now sometimes people say gaya. Gaya means he's gone or she is gone, But at the same time, Gaya happens to be the name of a place. where people go and do perform Shah ceremony. At the same time, Gaya also means passed away. So again, there are so many meanings to the same word. So it is very important when we read the verses, we should understand the contextual meaning. And this is the shortcoming being identified for the Gyan Yogis, because they enter into the philosophical speculation. They try to look at the literary meaning and they speculate on their own. There is a very nice incident that is there. There's some Gyan Yogis, they were sitting on the bank of a river, they were having this conversation, and suddenly a crow came and sat on a palm tree, and one of the fruits, it fell down. Actually, it was a baler, so the big bitter fruit. So it fell down. So again, they were now thinking, there were two groups of scholars. One said, actually, as soon as the bird came and sat down, then because of the sitting of the bird, the fruit fell. And then the second said, no, actually, as soon as the fruit fell, the bird, it left, because as soon as the bird came, the fruit fell and the bird left the tree, right? They said, no, because the fruit fell, the sound disturbed the bird and the bird flew off. So they continued to have this conversation for a long time. And a young cowherd boy, Gopal, he was watching. So he just came to them and he said, why don't you understand the essence? So he took up the fruit and he offered it as a bhoga to Lord Shri Krishna. He broke it and then he distributed it to everyone as prasad. He said, yes, it doesn't matter what caused it. Now that it is here, we should serve it, we should offer it to Lord Shri Krishna and we should enjoy prasad. So this is the mood of a devotee. The devotee does not want to get into speculation, philosophical or mental speculation, but rather understand the language so that we can become more attracted in performing devotional service. We want to come closer to Lord Shri Krishna. Yoga means connection, but connection is to bring us closer, right? So when we are connected with someone, then we can have conversation. Sometimes people say, oh, yoga, connection. So we have developed connection. But that's like, we made a phone call. Now the phone call is there and we pick up a phone and we are putting it to our ears in a mouthpiece, and what are we speaking in the mouthpiece is also very important. What are we hearing is also very important, and how we are serving, how we are establishing that connection. Now that we are in the presence of the Lord Shiva, we can see Lord Shri Krishna everywhere. Then we are not in this material world anymore, because we are in direct connection with Lord Shri Krishna. We have an opportunity to serve Him. We have an opportunity to love Him. And for that, we have to have the right attitude. And especially an attitude of gratitude is paramount, because it will enable us to really get the favor, get the blessings of Lord Shri Krishna and His devotees. So Vidurji, Mahatma Vidur, he is making all these inquiries. And having the attitude is very important. So there is a very nice story that has been a moral story that teaches us how we should be behaving and what we should be learning from others' mistakes, right? That's intelligent. An intelligent person learns from others' mistakes so that we don't perform. So there was once this great drummer. So he used to play amazing, drum, and he had a son. So he taught how to play drum to his son. So together they came to know that in a neighboring village, across a forest, there is a festival is going to be performed. So they said, okay, let's go and join this festival and we'll perform, participate in the Sankirtan and we'll play drum very nicely. So both of them, they went to the village in the festival and they played amazing, drums. So again, the drummer and his son, they were playing so well. Everyone was dancing, everyone was singing, everyone was joyful. There was happiness everywhere. Everybody loved their, playing of their drums. So they, gave him various gifts. So they gathered great amount of wealth, the father and the son. So again, the drummer was very happy. His son was very happy. They, amassed a large amount of wealth. So they got a lot of gifts and a lot of offerings from the villagers. And as they were returning back, they were very happy. So the father, he congratulated his son. He said, oh my dear son, you played really nice drum this time. It was very nice. So the son, he became very proud and he became a little puffed up. He's like, yes, And he started playing on drums. The father said, don't play drum now. The dacoits in the jungle, there are animals, wild animals, they will come to know that we are traveling. Then the son said, don't worry, father, I will play a martial drum. They will think that there is some royal king, and his party is going, so they won't even dare looking. So he started playing, his drum in a martial tune and so forth, beats. And so as he was playing, there were some dacoits in that area. They heard, oh, this is like, seems like some king and the soldiers, they are passing by. Let's not even go there. Let's walk away. And the father said, okay, now you should stop. The drummer said to his son, you should stop. That's enough. We don't want to attract too much, attention from the dacoits and, wild animals and so forth. Let's continue walking and let's reach our home safely. The son, he was really puffed up. He was really saying, oh, don't worry, father, I will play the drum and they will be scared. I will scare them off. So he continued playing the drum. Father was telling him to stop, but he was not listening because he was feeling that, oh, my drum playing is so wonderful. So he was getting really puffed up. Sometimes, someone can become really proud. And so in this manner, as he continued to play drum, the leader of the dacoits said, wait a minute, the same beats have been played 3 times. I don't think it's a royal party. It's the same drum that is playing. Let's go and check it out. So when they checked it out, they saw that there is this father and son holding a big collection of goods on their back, and the son is playing this drum. So they immediately attacked them, took away all the jewelry and all the money that they had gained during the festivals, and left them. And at that time, the father was holding his head, in his arms, thinking like he was telling his son. So it is also very important that when we engage, when we get blessings, we don't get puffed up. And Vidurji, Mahatma Vidur, by his example, he is showing it that even though he is one of the Mahajanas, he is still taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. He is still making inquiries, and he is making inquiries which are very important for us to understand. Now here Srila Prabhupada in the purport reveals that these inquiries are very good, because by these inquiries we get benedictions, right? We are enlightened. We learn the lessons for life so that we act properly. So this is also very important for us to understand. So now Vidurji's questions, let's look at some of the questions. And who is he asking? He is asking Maitreya Muni, son of Mitra, one of the Adityas. So again, great personality. And the one of the question is basically asking the first lesson that we hear. So of the 4 lessons, the first lesson is basically asking what is the difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, and the living entities, the souls, we, the jivas, who are residing in this material world. And when he's asking this question, he's asking in various flavors. Now this is also very interesting. When you ask a question, you want to make sure that your question is properly understood by the party you are inquiring from. He's saying that we living entities, we have different kind of desires. Boys, they engage in various kind of activities. And so when Lord is engaged in various kind of activities, how could they not be incited by the modes of material nature? How could he not be under the modes of material nature? Please explain that what is it? He has qualities, yet it is said that he does not have qualities. What is meant by that? And when Lord is performing all these activities and he is appearing in this material world, he is appearing just like a common man. So how is it that he is appearing like a common man, but he is so magnanimous, he is so inconceivable, he is so opulent that he is performing these Herculean tasks? This is bewildering to me. Please explain this. Please clarify my inquiries. So he is asking this. He is saying, Lord, he is Atmaram, right? He is fully satisfied. Yet at the same time, he is engaging with different people. He is engaging with Arjuna, he is engaging with Uddhav, he is engaging with all the Yadavas, and he is killing so many demons. That's also his engagement. So it is very interesting to see Lord Shri Krishna perform all these wonderful activities, wonderful pastimes. And he is appearing in such a wonderful form, yet at the same time, it is said that Nirguna. So sometimes people misinterpret nirguna to means that he has no qualities. So this is the wrong context they are looking, because nirguna here means that he is not under the influence of the three modes of material nature. So in the material nature there are three modes, right? Sattva-guna, mode of goodness; Rajoguna, mode of passion; Tamoguna, mode of ignorance. So he is not under the three modes, under the influence of the three modes of material nature. However, we living entities, so Maitreya Muni is responding that we living entities, we are under the influence of the three modes of material nature. Lord is the potent, he has unlimited potencies, and this material energy is his external potency. We living entities are Tatashta Shakti. We are also his potency, the marginal potency. And even though we are higher, we are, again, we have to take shelter either of external potency or internal potency. So when we take shelter of external potency, we become conditioned. Now he's giving some beautiful examples. How is he explaining? He's saying that just like sometimes we see the reflection of moon in waters, and if the water is, if there are waves in the water, it seems like the image is shimmering, right? Just like the image is moving, it is also shaking. But in reality, moon is stable. It is not shaking. It's the reflection of moon that is shaking. So we living entities are like the reflection of moon. And Lord Krishna is like the moon. So he is, fully stable, fully, he's not unaffected by water. But we, as reflection in the water, when the water moves, we seem to be moving. Now this is the effect we get because of in contact with material energy. So we become conditioned and we think that I am this body, right? So he is very nicely explaining, Maitreya Muni is explaining to Uddhavji very nicely and to all of us through Srimad Bhagavatam, when Shukdev Goswami is revealing it to Parikshit Maharaj and Sutta Goswami at Naimisharanya, to the sages whose spokesperson is Shaunaka Rishi. So this is being revealed for our understanding that we become conditioned, right? We are energies, Tatashta Shakti, marginal energy of the Lord, and as marginal energy, we are like spiritual spark. So fire is there, and from the fire comes a spark. Now the spark, when it's separated from fire, it can fall in three different places. If it falls on dry grass, it can immediately catch fire. That's like mode of goodness. We show the symptoms so that we can approach Lord Shri Krishna. If it falls on a ground, then the spark may get covered. It may light for some time, but it gets covered. That is like Rajoguna. That is like mode of passion, where we get covered. And then if it falls on a wet grass or on water, immediately it dies out. Its influence, its potency is completely covered. That is like Tamoguna, mode of ignorance. So in this way we understand how the different modes can completely overcome us. So that has been explained using this example, that under the three modes of material nature we show the behavior. That is why a living entity in the body of a dog behaves like a dog, in the body of a cat behaves like a cat, in the body of a woman behaves like a woman, in the body of a man behaves like a man. So again, for the benefit of new viewers, I would like to cover, we are covering Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 7, further inquiries by Mahatma Vidura. And here we are learning how to make spiritual inquiries to get relief from miseries and misfortunes and finally attain perfection through the attraction of the loving devotional service of Lord Shri Krishna. So we want to serve Lord Shri Krishna because then we will become happy, we will become peaceful, and we will experience all kind of good fortune, and all misfortunes will be driven away. These misfortunes are like darkness, and Lord Krishna is Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hiya Andhakara Jaha Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Radhikara. Lord Krishna is like sun, and Maya, this material energy, is like darkness. So if we are in the presence of sun, we cannot be in darkness. Now it is also very important, the presence of sun is when we are facing the sun. Then we don't see any darkness because we only see light. If we turn our back to the sun, that's when we see our reflection. And that is also another analogy Acharyas give, that when we look at our reflection, the darkness, we think that that reflection is us. But in reality, we are standing with our back to Krishna, and we are thinking that I am this body, so this shadow is like the body. But we are not this body, we are living entities. So we are the spiritual spark, and Lord Krishna is the main fire. So there are so many wonderful analogies Acharyas give. So we want to be in direct connection with Lord Shri Krishna, because then we are spiritual. So again, we can spiritualize our very life. Sometimes people give this reference, oh, I am a spiritual being having material experience. Well, that's very unfortunate if we are having material experience. If we are a spiritual being, we should be having spiritual experience. And spiritual experience we can simply get when we are engaged in glorifying Lord Shri Krishna in His name, form, activities, pastimes, and serving Lord Shri Krishna with love, with devotion, with affection, with attraction, with attention. We can simply engage in loving devotional service, and we can be spiritualized in this very life, our very existence, and start our spiritual experiences now and here. So again, the inquiries are being, satisfied. Vidura is making all these inquiries, and he's inquiring basically the difference between Lord Shri Krishna and the living entities. Now, what aspect has been given in Bhagavad Gita? In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, he has time and again explained the what aspect, right? Avajanante mam mudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajanantom mama bhuta maheshwaram. So again, Lord Krishna, what does he say? Okay, fools, they deride me, because he, when Lord Krishna, he appears in his human form, fools deride him. They do not know his divine nature, and that he is the supreme proprietor of all the material and spiritual universes, everything that can be, so all that can be. He is the supreme proprietor. Again, so this is referring to the fools, people who do not accept Lord Shri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They have been referred in Bhagavad Gita by Lord Shri Krishna himself as fools. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport is also referring that in the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, which appears in the 9th chapter of the 2nd canto, verse 33 through 36, the word aham has been misinterpreted by the impersonalists, the Gyan Yogis. They think that aham means I, so living entity. Means they think that, aham brahmasmi means we are Brahman. Yes, as living entities, we are qualitatively one with Lord Shri Krishna, but quantitatively we are different. Because Lord Krishna, he is unlimited and we are limited. So that is from quantity perspective. If he is like the ocean, we are a drop from the ocean. If he is like the fire, we are a spark from the fire. If he is like the gold mine, we are like, a part of the gold mine, maybe in the form of a ring or a chain or something. So again, we are limited in our capabilities. And further, we do not get the body. So again, we are the spiritual spark, but we still need the medium so that we can engage in his loving devotional service. So we take shelter of the mother, his external potency, which is Maya, and so we get the body and we become conditioned thinking I am this body. When we are in the spiritual world, we get the body, the spiritual body from Yog Maya, Lord's internal potency. So when Lord appears and his devotees appear in this material universe, then they are under the influence of his eternal potency. So Lord is appearing with all his potencies, and this material energy is actually under the command of Lord Shri Krishna. She is following his command. She cannot overcome. Just like the cloud cannot overcome the sun, right? Cloud is on this planet. So we see the cloud and we say, well, the sun is covered. Actually, sun cannot be covered because you will never find cloud on sun planet. Yet at the same time, we say that because we are covered from seeing the sun. We are covered by the cloud. So the cloud is only on planet Earth. You will not find cloud on sun. However, we also understand the clouds have appeared because the sun evaporated the water from the various water bodies like the oceans, lakes, rivers, and so the clouds are formed. So the reason clouds have formed is sun. Yet at the same time, sun is not covered. So similarly, the material energy that has come, the external potency of Lord Shri Krishna, when she has come, it is because of Lord Shri Krishna. He is the potent, he is the Shaktiman, and this is the Bahir Shakti, external potency of Lord Shri Krishna is, but she cannot cover, Lord Shri Krishna, just like the cloud cannot cover the sun. It is only we living entities who are covered. So again, the clouds cover the earth, the sky on earth in our planet. So that is also very important. And so Lord Shri Krishna, he is Atmaram. He appears in this material world. And of course in Bhagavad Gita we learn what are the three reasons Lord appears. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. To protect his devotees, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam, and to annihilate the miscreants, dharma sansthapanataya, dharma ki sanstapna karne ke liye, to establish the principles of religion. Right? That is very important. And Lord, he sends his messenger, he sends his son, as Srila Prabhupada says in the purpose and his lectures, so that, and he is imparting the knowledge to people to the level the people in different part of the world can understand. It is not that Lord Krishna only appears in India. He sends his messages, he appears in different countries, in different forms, in different yonis, just to impart the knowledge to the level people can understand at that time. He also appears as Bhagavan Buddha, so that's also an incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna, so that people who are engaged in animal killing would stop animal killing. And for that, since they were misusing Vedas, so Vedas are not different from Lord Shri Krishna, so they are literally incarnation. But we are limited, right? So when we misinterpret what happened with the coming of Kali Age, people started engaging in animal slaughter in the name of religion. And to stop that, Lord appeared as Buddha to stop animal killing, and understanding that these people cannot understand Vedas, so he said, I derived Vedas so that people don't use Vedas. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appears, people were devotees, and he appeared on the call of Advaita Acharya. And so he came, and to establish the principles of religion, he established the principles of religion by identifying that congregational chanting is the sacrifice for this age. So he established congregational chanting. And once when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so again Gaur Purnima is approaching, right? We are all reading so much about the wonderful pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees. So once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he approached Haridas Thakur. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Krishna. He is Krishna himself in the mood of Radharani, in the mood of his, topmost worshipper, Radharani. And so he is saying, Haridas Thakur, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your prayers. Haridas Thakur, when he sees Lord Shri Krishna, so again, Haridas Thakur is Namacharya. He teaches us how to chant Lord Shri Krishna's name, how to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So again, we are getting this benediction to hear from Haridas Thakur when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is inquiring from him that I want to hear your prayers and I am ready to give you whatever benediction you want. So when Lord Krishna is asking this, we should understand what kind of benediction we should be asking, right? So Srila Haridas Thakur is teaching us. He says, my dear Lord, I am actually a fallen person. If somebody sees me, then he becomes sinful. So he is Namacharya, yet at the same time he is showing that how humble, how tolerant, and how he is feeling. So again, he is saying when somebody sees me, he becomes sinful. When somebody touches me, he has to take bath. So again, because Namacharya Haridas Thakur, he appeared in a Mohammedan family, in a Muslim family. Yet at the same time, he is the authority on the chanting of the holy name, as revealed by Lord Krishna himself when he appears as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So again, but Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he is saying, no, I want to hear your prayers. So Haridas Thakur, he starts reciting the glories of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He is saying that you appeared as, the carrier of this world. And so, on top of that, you are the deliverer of this world, and you have delivered your devotees and so many times. So this is the Paritranaya Sadhunam, is how you are constantly, so I am paraphrasing, just for the viewers. So you appear, just like when Durvasa Muni, he appeared, and when the Pandavas were in the forest, with his 10,000 disciples, Durvasa Muni appeared, and at that time you appeared as Lord Shri Krishna, and you went there and you took the few the morsels from that pot, the Akshay Patra, and so they were all satisfied. And you told her, you said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. You won't have any, there is no need for anxiety, there is no need for any fear. I'll take care of you. And by just tasting those few morsels of rice, grains and vegetables from the Akshay Patra, all the sages and Durvasa Muni himself, they were fully satisfied when they were taking bath. And they saw Bhim and they ran away because, they thought that if they don't honor the prasadam, then Bhim will get angry. So again, this is how Lord Krishna protects his devotees. When Draupadi was pulled by her hair in the assembly hall of the Kauravas, at that time, he was, trying to, derobe her. He was trying to take away, insult her. At that time, being affectionate, remembering how Draupadi, when you had killed Shishupal and you had a small cut on your finger, how Draupadi tore her sari and, used the cloth to wrap. So you're reflecting back her affection by giving her unlimited supply of sari. So Dushashan was not successful. And so again, at one time when Mother Parvati, right, wife of Lord Shiva, none other than the material energy herself, Goddess Durga, when she was surrounded by witches and she was about to be devoured by those witches, at that time she remembered you and you appeared and you took care of all those witches. And at that time, Goddess Durga, who is also glorified as Vaishnav Devi. What is the meaning of Vaishnav Devi? A devotee of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. So you protect your devotees all the time. Just like Prahlad Maharaj, who is an Acharya for remembrance, remembering you. So again, Prahlad Maharaj, he sets the example for all of us by simply remembering Lord Shri Krishna, by remembering Lord Vishnu. He was completely protected. Even though his father Hiranyakashipu, he sent his soldiers to, harm his son Prahlad Maharaj by weapons, but none of the weapons could penetrate the body of Prahlad Maharaj. When he was supposed to be trampled by the mad elephants, none of the elephants could trample. When he was thrown from the cliff of a mountain, then the Lord protected him. In all circumstances, he was protected. When he was surrounded by the various poisonous snakes, the snakes did not bite him because he was constantly remembering Lord Shri Krishna. So again, just by remembering you, all the devotees are constantly protected. Such wonderful, is your benediction when someone is constantly hearing about your glories, chanting your glories, remembering you, engaging in the 9 process of devotional service. And of course, in the 11th canto, we hear reading and writing are also aided by Shukdev Goswami. So they are also part of devotional service. And here we are hearing as how, Maitreya Muni is revealing that Lord Krishna is not covered by the material energy. Rather, material energy is under his command. Devi Hesha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya Mamevye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that this material energy of mine, Gunamai, right, the 3 modes of material nature, it has these 3 modes. Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. Mama Maya Duratyaya. It is very difficult to overcome. Mameva ye prapadyante, but one who surrenders unto me, one who engages in my devotional service, who lovingly, with gratitude, with affection, with attention, with attraction serves me, right? Mayam etam tarantite, can very easily overcome this material energy, which is like an ocean, but this ocean reduces to the size of a calf's hoof print, and we can easily cross over a calf's hoof print. We can understand that. So this is the glories of the name, form, activities, pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. So Maitreya Muni is revealing this to Vidurji, that yes, even though he appears, even though Lord Krishna is Atmaram, even though he does not have any desire, he still engages in reciprocation with his devotees. In reality, Acharyas revealed that Lord Krishna never steps out of Vrindavan, because he is so much engaged in loving devotional service, in loving exchanges with his devotees. While it is the demons who appear in Vrindavan, in Mathura, and Dwarka, and also on Kurukshetra, they are killed by Lord's energies, right? At Kurukshetra, it was Sudarshan Chakra who was killing, actually, which was revealed at the end of the battle of Kurukshetra. And similarly, it is Vishnu in Krishna who kills, not Krishna. Yet at the same time, anyone who is blessed or who is killed, they are able to go back home, back to Godhead. Yet they have different destinations. So they all go back to Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is a general concept. Vaim is devoid of, Kuntha is miseries. So a place where there is no misery, that is Vaikuntha, which is Anandamaya, which is joyful place. So right here, when we engage in devotional service, we are devoid of all the miseries. So we become Vaikunthavasi right here. We don't have to wait for that. But when we are not engaged in devotional service, then we are in material consciousness. Then we are serving Maya. That is also very true. So we should make every effort to always engage as much as possible in devotional service. But devotional service is not our right. It is a constitutional position. It is a privilege. And for that, we have to pray. We have to beg for it. We have to call out, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now, Namacharya Haridas Thakur, he is revealing the glories as how Lord is protecting his devotees. And then he is saying that, my dear Lord, as a benediction, I would like to receive the remnants of your devotees, the food stuff, right, that they honor, right, the prasad that they get. I would like to get that prasad, their remnants, not your prasad, but after what you have provided to them, their leftovers is what I desire. And then he says, no, I am too fallen to even wish for such a high benediction. Rather, I would like to be a dog at the devotee's house, to serve the devotees. A dog basically, he protects the house, he acts as a guard. So again, he is having this mood that even that, getting the remnants is a very highly exalted. And sometimes it's very interesting that we see devotees, they are saying, we should get prasad, we should get this. So again, sometimes people in the material consciousness, they feel that they have the right, but it is a privilege. We should understand that devotional service is a privilege, and Namacharya himself is showing that we have to beg for that. And the begging process is to be done with love, with gratitude, with affection, and with full attention, just by raising our hands and calling out, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And what is the reflection? So again, now Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is revealing that, oh Haridas Thakur, you are very dear to me. And anyone who spends a day with you, can attain me. Anybody who sings your glories, who talks about you, who follows your instructions, can attain the love of Godhead. So these are the benedictions that we get when we glorify Haridas Thakur, when we hear about his pastimes, when we hear about the glories, when we take to his instructions with love and devotion, we call out to the Lord and we engage in making spiritual inquiries that can relieve us from all misfortunes, from all miseries, from all kind of distresses, from all kind of fears, for all kind of uncertainties that lies ahead of us. and fills us our life with love, with devotion, with happiness, with such calm, serene peacefulness, and we become prasannatma, brahma bhuta prasannatma, na shochati na kankshati, samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. Lord Krishna reveals that one who is at a brahma bhuta stage, who is at a Brahman stage, such a person at a Brahma bhuta stage does not lament about the past, and or does not aspire for the future. So the person is without any anxieties, because you basically have anxiety regarding the past or the future. The present moment, when you are engaged in devotional service, then you are of course joyful. And Sama Sarveshu Bhutashu, who's equal, who's looking at every living entity with equal vision, understanding Jivera Sarupaya Krishnera Nityadas, that every living entity is an eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna. And they are all very dear to Lord Shri Krishna. Lord is residing in everyone's heart as Paramatma, not just in our heart, but everyone's heart. And even though he is undivided, he appears divided, as if he is in your heart, he is in my heart. But it is the same Lord. He has expanded himself unlimitedly, eternally. He is present everywhere. There is no place in this universe where Lord Krishna is not there. But our eyes are defective, our senses are limited, so we cannot see. Yet at the same time, with higher intelligence, with higher instructions, we can see Lord Krishna in everything. Raso aham apsu kantaya. Lord Krishna says, I am the taste in water. So when we get thirsty and we taste water, it is Lord Shri Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said that even when someone, a drunkard, when he tastes wine and he says, oh, this is the taste of Krishna, so this taste is Krishna, even he would be benefited, and in due course of time he will give up drinking wine, and he would be purified. So again, sun's rays can purify a dirty place as well as pure places. It doesn't care whether the place is bad or good, it gives light, right, without any discrimination. Yet at the same time, it is the presence of sun and absence of sun that we see light or darkness. So if we are in the absence of sun, we would be in darkness. So if we are not directly connecting with Krishna, then we are directly connecting with Maya. And Maya is also energy of Lord Shri Krishna. So we are indirectly serving Krishna. But Maya only gives us pain, only gives us misery. While Krishna, there is no misery. With Krishna, there is all happiness. तो ऐसे में हम लोगों को पता लगता है कि how in this life itself we can get the benediction, right? At the same time, हम लोग कैसे detach रह सकते हैं in this material world by being in this material world and engaging in devotional service. हम कैसे इस material world में रहते हुए भी हम भक्ति में लीन रहते हुए भगवान कृष्णा को प्रसन्न करने के लिए, to please Lord Shri Krishna, we carry out various kind of activities to please Lord Shri Krishna, and of them the most important is Shravanam. And Shravanam has a combination of not just hearing, because silent and listen, they have the same letters, right? If you write silent and listen, they have the same letters, but there is big difference between them. In one case we are absorbing, in one case we are silent, which could even be like a dumb person, we don't know what to do, but we are just silent. But we should not be silent, we should be listening. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would see Srila Prabhupada sit in his classes, and Srila Prabhupada revealed that yes, I would not understand much, but I would sit very sincerely, attentively listening. And even though I could not understand much, I received the blessings of my spiritual master. He said that yes, this boy is sincere. So Srila Prabhupada, he would have his disciples sit many times, and he would give in India, when he was at Mayapur and Bombay, Delhi and other places, he was in Allahabad, he was giving pravachan, he was giving discourses on Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, he was speaking in Hindi, and all his disciples would stay there. Why? He said that you should stay here because even though you don't understand anything, the sound vibration is pure. This is glorification of Lord Shri Krishna and his devotees. It will purify us. So you will get purified. So even when you don't understand, you should listen. So we should always understand That Shravanam is so powerful that even if we don't understand, we should make an effort to listen the sound vibrations so it enters through our ears to our heart and purifies us. And that will drive away all kind of misfortunes. And what are these misfortunes? Sometimes, what kind of inquiries? So the lesson number 2 that we cover today is when we ask questions, what are the kind of inquiries that we should be asking? Should we be asking about how do I get away? How can I get cured of this material sickness? There is pandemic time going on, there is fever, cough, so many things going on. Should we be praying for that? Should we be praying for riches? Should we be praying for beautiful wives? Should we be praying for children? Should we be praying for, material benedictions like promotions and so forth? Or should I be looking for real miseries of this material life, which is Janmitru Jaravadi Dukkha Doshanudashanam. Birth, death, old age and disease, these are the true miseries of this material world. So again, Srila Prabhupada, he says that this feeling sickness and try to get cured of these material diseases, which are temporary in nature, is not the right thing to ask. Right thing to ask is to get out of the material, the cycle of birth and death. That is the true misery. And that we can attain simply by taking to the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now here, sometimes people say, what is the proof given? So in this chapter, this has been also revealed by Maitreya Muni, and earlier also in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is revealed. Sutta Goswami Navasharanya, he is revealing that. Anartho pashmam sakshat bhakti yogam ashtokshaje lokasya jananto vidvams chakre satvata samhitam. Anartho pashmam sakshat, these material diseases, the temporary miseries that we observe, they are superfluous. They are just our imagination in reality. Right? Bhakti yoga matoshaje. But we should engage in Bhakti Yoga. The true purpose of our getting human life, which is a rare form of life, is to engage in loving devotional service of Lord Shri Krishna. Lokasya jananto. But the general populace, they do not know this. Vidvans chakre satvata samhitam. That's why Vidwan. Who is this Vidwan he is referring to? This is none other than Shri Krishna Dvapana Vyasadev. Chakre Satvata Samhitam. So he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam, this Samhita, this just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, just by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, just by engaging in serving Srimad Bhagavatam, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Right? So it is not that you do a Bhagavad Saptaha, that is also a superfluous way of preaching. Srila Prabhupada says, Bhagavata should be Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We should be constantly serving Bhagavatam by reading it, by reciting it, by glorifying it. So we should be serving Bhagavatam regularly. And why not? Why just daily? We should, every opportunity that we get, we should open Bhagavatam. We should open up the various discourses are there, and we should engage in Shravanam as much as possible. And with Shravanam, we will all automatically get the ability to glorify Bhagavatam. And the purpose of reading Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, would be to increase our attraction for Lord Shri Krishna, so that we engage in chanting His glories, His name, form, activities, pastime. We become more attentive, more pure in chanting His holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And by such chanting, of course, this is a prayer where we're calling to Mother Radha, to Lord Krishna, to Lord Ram, to please engage us in their devotional service. Please engage me in your devotional service. We are praying this in a begging mood, like a beggar, because it's a privilege. And so we get the benedictions so that we engage in devotional service. And when we are engaged in devotional service, we are not in this material world. We are in the spiritual world. There cannot be any miseries. So even the miseries sometimes people feel when engaged in devotional service is because they are in material consciousness performing devotional service. That is something we need, a sign that we need further purification. And sometimes people, they become puffed up. They're saying that, okay, I have got this service now, so I am so and so personality. That position, so many examples we hear how pride cometh before fall. So that again, that is also very important. Now that we are engaging in devotional service, we are chanting the holy name. There is also an important lesson that Mahatma Vidura is showing, that he is making all his inquiries from Maitreya Muni. He is putting forth his inquiries in front of Maitreya Muni. So we should also be, looking for a bona fide spiritual master. That is the process. Tad vidhi pranipatena. So what is the third lesson? That we should be understanding who is a proper guru, right? Who is a bona fide guru, and that is our responsibility. For this, there is a beautiful story that comes in the scriptures, a moral story where, there was this person. He was actually a cheater. So he decides that I will wear the dress of a, sannyasi, and I would go to a village and I will sit there and I will enjoy my life. And afterwards, when I have collected enough, I'll leave that place. So having made this plan, he goes to this village and he sits under a tree and he is sitting, he is meditating, right? And जब वो गांव के बाहर बैठ के एक बरगद के पेड़ के नीचे, बरगद के पेड़ में नॉर्मली बहुत से लोग प्लेटफॉर्म वगैरह बना देते हैं, तो ऐसे बैठा हुआ है, अपना चैंट कर रहा है. तो sometimes people say yes, he is at least chanting. Yes, of course he is chanting. तो chant कर रहा है just but with the intention of fooling others. So that is also an offense to the holy name. We should not try to use holy name for sense enjoyment, but he is actually performing nama prad. But because he is chanting, he will get some benediction. But he is doing it with a nama prad, with an offense to the holy name. And so people come, they say, oh, there is this sannyasi, he is chanting. They don't know about his intentions, right? From the intentions are hidden from them, and he is trying to pose himself as an affluent. So again, that's why in the scriptures again and again it is revealed that a person, a devotee who is preaching Krishna consciousness is not known by how opulent a speaker he is. He is not known by how attractive his looks are. He is not known by his position. He is actually known by his speech. Similarly, a fool is also known by his speech. So that is the essence. So here they are seeing that he is in meditation. So they are bringing different kind of foodstuffs, fruits, and various offerings, so that the sannyasi can stay. And because presence of a sannyasi is very fortunate, right? So now the people are very pious. So they are regarding him as a sannyasi, respecting him, bringing various kind of gifts. And so one day, a rich merchant, the jamidar of the village, he comes and he says, you know what, I'm always under fear that a thief will steal away all my wealth. So I want to give all the wealth to you so you can keep it safely. So now this thief-minded sannyasi is thinking, oh yes, that's exactly what I desire. So he says, why don't you dig it right next to me, in the ground, under this tree, and you can rest assured that it is safe. So, the jamidar, he asks his men, they bring all the wealth, all the gold, the ornaments and everything, and they dig a big hole and then they bury everything, and now, he goes back. So now the pseudo sannyasi is thinking that now it's time for me to leave this place, right, with all the wealth that is here. But I should do it in such a way so that it does not raise any flag, it does not raise any concern towards me. So he goes to the house of the jamidar and he goes there and he says, oh, my dear jamidar, I'm actually planning to leave. And then the jamidar says, but why are you leaving? You just came here, you have been here hardly any time, so why don't you just stay here for a little longer? He says, no, see, I am a sannyasi, I am detached, as a sadhu. I have no business staying and becoming attached to a specific place. My nature is to wander. So I am going to continue my journey, my spiritual journey. So at that time, what had happened was, as he had walked inside, he had picked up some of the straws from the thatched roof and put it in his hair. So he said, and see, so I am about to leave. So the merchant is, the jamidar is saying, okay, I wish you happy journey, everything stays well and so forth. And then the sadhu takes out those straws, the piece of straw from his hair. He says, See, I don't take anything from anyone, nothing belongs to me. So I think that this came from your roof. I want to give it back to you. So Jamidar, he's very impressed. Oh, yes, very nice. He's giving it everything back to me, even the straws from the roof. So he's surprised and he's very, impressed by this gesture of this pseudo sadhu. But his friend, he's thinking something's wrong here, right? So as soon as the sadhu leaves his friend, he was also listening, he was also witnessing all this exchange of words and that the sadhu is leaving the village. He asks his friend, the Jamidar, he says, "Are Jamidar dost, is this something that you gave to this person to keep safely?" Jamidar says, "Oh yes, all my wealth, all my gold, everything is buried next to him under the tree." So he said, "Let's go immediately and find out." His friend immediately warns him. So they immediately rush to the ground, and what do they see? That the ground has been dug and all the wealth is gone. Then his friend says, "He may not have gone far. Let's go and catch him." So they together run and with his servants, and they are able to apprehend this sadhu, and they beat him up and take back all the wealth. So again, it is not that somebody poses themselves as sadhu, we should accept it. We should also see what are their actions, what are their activities, how much are they engaging in devotional service, right? That is also very important. And the lesson we get from this moral story is that one should be very careful on selecting one's spiritual master. So one should be, just like a spiritual master, a bona fide spiritual master tests his disciple, a disciple should also test that his spiritual master is a bona fide spiritual master, that the spiritual master is appearing in parampara, that the spiritual master is speaking from the shastras, the spiritual master is following the instructions of the acharyas, that the spiritual master is concerned about all the living entities and their spiritual journey, not the material journey. We see so many gurus in India nowadays. They have basically many tantrics. They have taken positions where the rich people, they go to them to say, "Oh, how do I defeat my rival in my field of expertise? How do I get wealth? How do I become rich? Which stock should I exchange in? Who should I marry my sons and daughter to?" All these things that is going on, which is in a material consciousness that's been going on. So again, these are not the right questions. Rather, the right questions is, how can I get out of this material miseries? Jan mitru jaravadi dukhu doshanu dashram. How can I break the cycle of birth and death? How can I attain love of Godhead? How can I get the devotional service? How can I engage in bhakti yoga? How can I become humble and tolerant so that I get the right mood when performing devotional service? So again, these are the important questions that we should be asking. So understanding from that perspective, it is for us to understand when we accept a spiritual master, what are the activities, what are their intention. And I have my own personal experience. जब हमारे यहाँ पे US पे बहुत सन्यासी साधु आते हैं and they are preaching all over the place. So हम लोग जब, this is over 15-20 years back, when we were looking for a spiritual master, but we were just going everywhere, right? हम लोग जहाँ पे भी नाम हट्टा हो रहा है, जहाँ पे भी संकीर्तन हो रहा है, हम लोग जाते थे, right? As a family, I would take my family, my wife, my children. We would go and attend satsang, attend कर रहे हैं, बहुत अच्छा लगता है. सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग बात है, you get to hear from the sadhus, you get to hear from the sannyasis, और उसके बाद में वहाँ पे sumptuous प्रसादम होता है, कीर्तन होता है. All these things are very enlivening. So we had a lot of attraction. तो एक बार ऐसे ही हुआ कि मेरे गुरु महाराज, at that time I was not aspiring, उनको aspire नहीं कर रहा था, वो आए और सब लोग उनसे बारी बारी करके मिल रहे थे. जब मेरा चांस आया, तो जब मैं उनसे मिलने वाला था, मैंने देखा वहाँ पे कुछ डिस्टर्बेंस चल रही है. मैंने कहा क्या हो गया, क्यों डिस्टर्ब हैं? तो एक डिवोटी थे जो वहाँ पे, उन्होंने बोला कि एक्चुअली महाराज इज़ वेरी डिस्टर्ब, कि उनका फ़ोन नहीं दिख रहा है. तो मेरे को बड़ा अजीब लगा, अरे उनका अपना फ़ोन क्यों नहीं दिख रहा है, वो अपना फ़ोन को क्यों ढूंढ रहा है? तो फ़ोन को ढूंढने में लगे हुए हैं सब लोग. तो देयर वाज ऐसे में डिस्टर्बिंग स्टेट में मेरे को लगा कि अरे ऐसा क्या है, फ़ोन से अटैचमेंट कैसा है? तो उसमें डिवोटी ने मुझे एनलाइटन किया. उन्होंने कहा कि अरे नहीं, वो इसलिए परेशान हैं कि अगर उनको कोई और डिवोटी कॉल करेगा, कोई उनका डिसाइपल कॉल करेगा, हाउ विल ही बी एबल टू गिव डायरेक्शन इफ ही डजंट हैव फोन? अगर इतना फोन नहीं है उनके पास तो वो कैसे हेल्प करेंगे? एट दैट टाइम आई वाज सो इम्प्रेस्ड. आई वाज लाइक, he is disturbed not because of the phone. It was a simple Blueberry phone, flip phone. He's not disturbed because of the phone. He's disturbed that if somebody seeks his advice, if somebody is seeking, making an inquiry, he will not be able to help, and that is disturbing, that he will not be able to perform his duties properly. He will not be able to perform his activities properly. He will not be able to enlighten others in their journey. I was immediately impressed. I was so impressed that I said, yes, I have found my spiritual master. Sometimes people, they make stories afterwards as how I selected my spiritual master and all that. But no, it was this incident that I said, yes, if I have to take shelter of someone, then this is the personality. And so at that time, is again, that incident turned me completely around, and it was much later that I understood the importance of taking the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. And when I was thinking who would be the spiritual master I would take shelter of, this incident, ये जो incident था, मेरे को इतना strong impression मेरे हृदय पे पड़ा, मेरे दिल पे पड़ा कि I immediately understood that I have to take shelter of His Holiness Srila Bhagavad. And so I took his shelter. So that was the main reason why, and this is for us to determine whose shelter we should take. We should not be driven by people, singing glories. Oh, he can bring gold from air. He can give you benedictions so that, yes, they can give us benedictions so that we can prosper materially, spiritually, and all around. Yes, that is true. Yet at the same time, we should be more concerned about our spiritual growth. We should be more concerned to get love of Godhead. We should be more concerned to get out of this cycle of birth and death. And that is the purpose. So the benefits, is for us when we take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. The benefit is for us when we engage in satsang. Benefit is for us when we engage in Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. When we engage in the 9 processes of devotional service, it is for our benefit that we engage in the devotional service. So these processes are for us to overcome the fear, to overcome the miseries, to overcome the anxieties, to overcome all the misfortunes. And it is not that, again, so in this chapter, Maitreya Muni is identifying, Srila Prabhupada is revealing, there are 2 processes that have been identified as paramount. One is Gyan Yoga, which is speculative, right? Philosophical speculation. Sometimes people feel, why do I need a guru? I'll just read the books and I'll get it. But then they will not be able to understand the contextual aspect. They will understand only the literary aspect, and they will misinterpret the scriptures, and they would not be able to get that true path. They will be going on tangents, not focusing on the main goal of attaining Krishna. And the other one is Bhakti Yoga, which is the right process, which is like elevator going to the top floor, going directly to Lord Shri Krishna. So just by engaging in devotional service, by following Bhakti Yoga, the process of Bhakti Yoga, the 9 processes we talked about, one can attain Lord Shri Krishna, and so we can go back home, back to Godhead, and start having our spiritual experiences right here, right now, in this very life. And so we can spiritualize our very senses, we can spiritualize our very memory, our intelligence, and our very being when we are constantly engaged in loving devotional service. So this is how we should make spiritual inquiries to get relief from all material miseries and get all spiritual benedictions to stay happy and to experience transcendental bliss. So this is the 4th lesson in this particular chapter. Hare Krishna. So I would like to summarize. The first lesson we hear is difference between Lord Shri Krishna, who is, he is the supreme proprietor. Ishwar Paramaha Krishna is the topmost controller. He is the supreme personality of Godhead. And we living entities are his external, his Tatashta Shakti. We are his marginal potencies. And we are conditioned while he is never conditioned. Rather, he is the source of all kind of potencies, including material energy. Second is, what kind of questions we should seek. We should seek questions with respect to our spiritual journey, not with respect to material benefits or removing material miseries, because they are superfluous to us. Third is we should understand the process. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya updekshanti tajjnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So we have to seek out a bona fide spiritual master, and the responsibility is on our shoulder to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, serve him with love, with devotion, with gratitude, and inquire from him. And what kind of inquiries? That's the fourth lesson. So when we hear from our spiritual master, when we hear from sadhus, when we read shastras, we get benefits, we get benedictions, we get the blessings, and so we are able to engage in devotional service and finally go back home, back to Godhead, and attain love of Lord Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining us for this class. Please, if you have any inquiries, make those inquiries. Kantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai, Nitaya Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, viewers, for joining us in the class today. Prabhuji, we have few questions. So, first question I read was from Neeruji. She has expressed, Neeruji ne kaha hai, she cannot find herself reading scriptures. So how can she continue to make spiritual advancement without reading the scriptures, or how can she develop the taste and absorption in reading Krishna Katha?
Hare Krishna, Neeruji. A very important question. So again, question है नीरू जी का कि it is, she cannot find time to read the scriptures, so how can she develop the taste to read scriptures? Now again, it is in the 11th canto Shukdev Goswami reveals that reading and writing are also part of the devotional services also, but the most important is hearing, shravanam. So you should hear as much as possible. There are various discourses. So we have started Srimad Bhagavatam from the beginning, and we also understand that Srimad Bhagavatam is a literary incarnation. So when you look at the details, you should also always look from the from the feet rising higher. We are covering 10th canto, which are the thighs of Lord Shri Krishna, right? So again, we should start from the beginning. And these scriptures, they are also called Shruti Shastra because they are passed on by hearing. So by hearing, they enable us to transform our heart and develop attraction to the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. And what to talk about the lotus feet, in this there is the word parag. Today in the verse that we read, the word parag was there, which is like the fragrance. The parag is like, of the lotus feet, the dust of the lotus feet. So parag was even at a higher level. It was revealed today. So here we have to hear as much as possible. When we hear, and we should engage in chanting. Chanting also develops attraction because it actually cleanses the mirror of our heart, and we are able to see ourselves as eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna. So Cheto Darpanam Ajanam Bhav Mahadavagni Nirvaparam Shayah Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. Again, 7 benedictions as is revealed in Shiksha Ashtaka by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. We get benedicted, we get the blessings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so we are able to develop attraction to Lord Shri Krishna. And again, reading, hearing, chanting, they are all there. But start with hearing, shravanam. So hearing is very important. It is the most potent form. And by constant hearing and chanting of the holy name as well, and hearing the discourses on Srimad Bhagavatam, will enable you to develop more attraction, more affection, more attention to Lord Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hopefully this answers your question.
Hare Krishna, Neeruji. So I hope you got your answer. जब तक आप कृष्ण कथा का श्रवण भी कर रहे हैं, तब तक आपकी चिंता की कोई बात नहीं. You will make spiritual advancement and you will develop the taste in doing devotional services, in chanting the holy names. Hari Bol. Prabhu ji, अगला question है बैसाखी पढ़ी जी का. She writes, this is a humble request from a devotee. और ये पूछ रहे हैं can we have Bhagavad Gita class from the very beginning, because they have missed many classes and they want to learn systematically. तो इसका हमने प्लान किया है, probably प्रभु जी अप्रैल
Yes.
में we are planning to start Bhagavad Gita
Yeah.
classes.
As soon as Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So we are planning to start Bhagavad Gita classes. We already covered Bhagavad Gita in December last year. So you can also look at those 18, actually they're at the chapter level. So you can look at those lessons that we covered in Bhagavad Gita. And also we are planning to start Bhagavad Gita. It will be a combination so that Hindi listeners, Hindi speaking, and as well as English listeners, they can both understand it. So we are going to start somewhere in April, and we will let you know. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी. एट दिस टाइम वी डोंट हैव एनी मोर क्वेश्चंस, लेकिन एक क्वेश्चन का आंसर सबके साथ जरूर शेयर करना चाहते हैं. सो प्रभु जी, कैन यू हेल्प एवरीवन अंडरस्टैंड कि जब हम ये पर्सनालिटीज़ की लीलाज, श्री कृष्ण जी की लीलाज इन एग्जॉल्टेड पर्सनालिटीज़ के साथ श्रीमद् भागवतम में पढ़ते हैं और कांस्टेंट श्रवण और कीर्तन करते हैं, यानी कि यू नो एज वी लिसन टू द डिस्कोर्सेस यू आर गिविंग एवरी डे. And so when we get all this transcendental knowledge, so how should we understand what is happening to our faith, and actually how is it helping us to achieve the love of Krishna? Can you explain in brief?
Hare Krishna. आचार्यस इसके बारे में बहुत ही प्यारी एनालॉजी देते हैं. बोलते हैं जस्ट लाइक अ ट्री, राइट? ट्री eats food by its legs, right? Because of the roots. Roots are its legs. So the first effect of getting the food, getting the various kind of water and nutrients from the ground, first it becomes very strong. So we become spiritually very strong. Second is that when we become spiritually very strong, we start to have flowers around us. So we become happy. That's the second effect. So first is all misfortunes, all miseries are driven away. Second is the flowers, the birds start appearing, which is, you know, appearing very nicely, showing us that we become prasannatma, we become happy, we become blissful, we become more humble, we become more tolerant. All that pride is also actually a vice. Even that goes away, right? So all these bad qualities, Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Mad, Matsara, all these bad vices, they are driven away. Lust, anger, greed, delusion, attachment, as well as envy. And so we also start to bear fruit. At that time, we engage in devotional service. So again, by sadhu sangha, sarva shastra kaya, love matra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi haya. So we start, having association of sadhus, and that enables us to engage in Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and the 9 process of devotional service. Then anartha nivriti happens, and when anarthas are driven away, we engage in bhajana kriya, the 9 processes of devotional service. We become more attentive, more, with attention, we start performing devotional service. And from that comes nishtha, right? So it all starts with faith. And nishtha is a stronger faith, right? We get more nishtha. And then we get ruchi. So we start developing interest in devotional service matters. We start reading books. So that's where the ruchi comes. And then we become asakta. Asakta is attachment. We become more attached to hearing, singing and preaching about Lord Shri Krishna, His name, form, activities, pastimes. We become more attached to His devotional service. We engage in activities that are favorable for our devotional service, and we reject activities that are unfavorable for our devotional service. And with that asakti, over a period of time, we start developing bhav. And from bhav comes prema, right? When it is highly concentrated, the feelings are highly concentrated, it transforms into the form of love. And it is in the mood of love that we as a tree, we as spiritual beings, start bearing fruits. And these fruits are what enable us and everyone around us to experience the love of Godhead. And so this is the basic process has been revealed by the Acharyas. Hare Krishna, that answers your question. Hopefully.
So Hare Krishna, thank you Prabhu ji. So this definitely gives us, हमको बहुत अच्छा एक ओवरऑल व्यू मिल जाता है कि किस तरीके से अगर हम डेली अपने थोड़ा भी टाइम हम अगर दे रहे हैं श्रवण करने में, कृष्ण कथा में अच्छी अच्छी टीचिंग सुन रहे हैं श्रीला प्रभुपाद जी की और वैष्णवाचार्यस की, किस तरह से हमारी श्रद्धा बढ़ रही है, हमारा हृदय स्ट्रांग हो रहा है, हमारा हृदय ट्रांसफॉर्म हो रहा है, चेंज ऑफ हार्ट हो रहा है, और इस प्रोसेस में वी एक्सपीरियंस स्पिरिचुअल हैप्पीनेस जो कि एवरलास्टिंग है. और आपने बताया इवेंचुअली इट लीड्स टू लव ऑफ कृष्णा, द प्योर डिवोशनल सर्विस. So Prabhuji, at this point we do not have any more questions.
Hare Krishna. So can we do Nrsimhadev prayers?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Please join us for Lord Nrsimhadev prayers.
So again we engage in Lord Nrsimhadev prayers to also ward off any kind of misery or misfortune and seek protection at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna and Lord Nrsimhadev. Hare Krishna. Please join us.
Namaste Narasimhaya, Namaste Narasimhaya, Pralada Ladayini, Pralada Ladayini, Hiranyakashipu Vashaha, Hiranyakashipu Vashaha, Shilatankanakalaye, Shilatankanakalaye, Ito Narsingho Parato Narsingho, Ito Narsingho Parato Narsingho, Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsingho, Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsingho, Ahir Narsingho, Hriday Narsingho, Ahir Narsingho, Hriday Narsingho, Narasimha Madev Sharanam Prapade, Narasimha Madev Sharanam Prapade, Tavakar Kamal Vare Nakha, Adbhuta Shringar, Lalita Hiranyakashipu, Tanu Vrinda, Keshavadita, Hari Rupa, Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Tavakar Kamal Vare Nakha, Adbhuta Shringar, Lalita Hiranyakashipu, Tanu Vrinda, Keshavadita, Narhari Rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jaya Nrsimhadev, Jaya Nrsimhadev, Jaya Nrsimhadev, Jaya Nrsimhadev, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
Jai Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Janant Kore Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. Hare Krishna.